members of the committee. I want to thank you all for testifying here today. My name, as you said, is Dave Lorendo. I'm manager of a hardware store and firefighter in this great state. I'm also an avid sportsman, hunter, and concealed weapons permit holder. Like many Mainers, I grew up around guns. My family owns several rifles, shotguns, and handguns. I was taught how to handle them safely and responsibly at a very young age. When I was about 14, my father took myself and my brother to a hunter safety class, and my family were all hunting together. And we were always reminded of the danger of firearms pose if they were mishandled to ourselves and others. Pardon me, I'm still nervous. They instilled in us respect and power for the firearms and the necessity for education and training for proper cleaning, use, and handling of firearms. It's because of this respect and the education and training I'm here today to oppose LD652. It was a lot easier to get my license and certifications to drive a car. Apologize.
My son's name's David, if that helps.
Thank you. I've never been watched for public speaking.
Me neither.
I do have other certifications, like to drive a car, pilot a boat, perform CPR, but getting my concealed weapons permit is far easier. I've heard that some people do complain that the process for getting the concealed handgun permit takes too long. The problem in some parts of the state is the process takes too long, that we don't have the manpower to expedite all requests. There are many ways to address these flaws without getting rid of simple safeguards we currently have to ensure that law-abiding citizens who are trained are allowed to carry concealed weapons on the streets. I was taught that if something was broken, that you fix it. You do not just throw it away. Abolition remains common sense permitting law as proposed in LD 652, where we have a basic education requirements that everyone should have to complete in order to carry a handgun loaded in crowded public places. I encourage the legislature to reconsider these dangerous and necessary laws instead of working with sportsmen, law enforcement, and other interested parties to craft a bill that can address whatever problems may exist in the current permitting system without putting additional Mainers at risk. And without abolishing common sense safeguards that ensure concealed weapons holders to understand the responsibility that comes with carrying a concealed firearm. I'm not alone, and I respectfully submit the committee's consideration of a written testimony of other gun owners throughout Maine who could not be here today. Like me, want Maine lawmakers to understand the responsibility of gun owners. A strong Second Amendment goes hand in hand with training, safeguards to help concealed loaded guns stay out of the hands of dangerous people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Did you have the testimony?
I do.
Okay, you can give it to her and she will pass it on for you. Thank you.
Laura Parker.
Yes, it's all. Hold up, there's 2 ones there.
Representative Fowler, members of the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee. My name is Laura Parker of Sydney. I am a wife, a mother, a nurse, and a selectman, but today I am here to testify in favor of LD 652 as a citizen of Maine and as a citizen of the United States on behalf of my household. I thought long and hard about how I'd approach this, as the point of carrying concealed is that no one is supposed to know that it's there. I have chosen a personal testimony, and I will be divulging today information about myself that frankly I would have rather remain private, but I am willing to do so in the name of liberty. I do not have the vast knowledge of firearms that others that have testified today have. However, I do have intimate knowledge of the firearm that I carry on my person every single day. I carry my firearm because I feel that I am responsible for my own safety and for the safety of my 3 children. For all measurable intents and purposes, I am not very strong and would have little to offer in the realm of defense should my life or the lives of my children be in jeopardy. There isn't anything that I can do about that. I stand a chance, however, of defending myself with accuracy when my gun is in my possession. I decided to apply for a concealed weapon permit because, though lawful, I didn't want to open carry. It didn't fit with my purpose of carrying a firearm. It took nearly 5 times longer than what was deemed lawful by the state of Maine to receive my permit, and I wondered as I jumped through the permitting hoops why I had to do all of this to simply wear a sweater over my gun. I've changed my wardrobe quite dramatically since carrying my firearm in an effort to keep it truly concealed. One day at home, my daughter, who was 9 at the time, happened to see my gun. I had been reaching to get something and wasn't maintaining the concerted effort of keeping my gun completely concealed the way I would when I'm out in public. She asked, "Mommy, why do you have your gun?" To which my 5-year-old son replied with a shrug of his small shoulders, "In case we ever get captured." He didn't think twice, he didn't dwell on the matter, he said it and moved on, without coaching, without manipulation, without ever having seen it there before. My 5-year-old son understood. I have a right to defend myself, and I don't think I need to advertise that fact by open carrying. No matter what the outcome of this bill, people who purpose to do harms to others will still break the law. They will carry their gun out of sight until they find use for it. There is no doubt in my mind about that. Just like locks only keep the honest people out, the permitting process will not stop someone who intends to use their firearm to break the law. I do not see this bill as being controversial. In fact, I think that even having to have this discussion is more controversial than the bill itself. As a citizen of Maine and as a citizen of the United States, the constitutions which govern them both tell me that I have the right to bear arms and that that right shall not be infringed. A vote of anything but ought to pass is absolutely nothing less than an infringement of my rights and the rights of every citizen in the state of Maine, whether they choose to exercise them or not. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Laura. I think we can have everybody else.
I think so. Well, what do we have?
I'm all by myself.
Everyone that's listening in the holding room, everyone else can come in now.
We got a total of 60.
So we're packed with it.
Okay, thank you.
No, you just ordered breakfast at 3 a.m.
You both work with that way. Nobody wants to talk to us.
Cancel that order.
So giving people to get into the room, can we take a 5-minute break while people come up and get into the room?
Absolutely.
I didn't go out over the mic.
So we will be back in 5. Please feel free to load up the room. You grab the room. We're ready. We're ready for the rest.
Everybody.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Bring downstairs, bring back up.
I don't say that was a facility.
Jack could not come back in because of the cold air on his back.
Oh, you should shut that.
Well, he did, he was afraid to say anything because he said somebody else was complaining about his
I was going to say, I can close that up. That's not.
You gotta cool down for a minute and then come back in.
Oh, okay. I don't know if he went. He said he could.
Is he still here?
I don't know. He had
Ooh.
6 weeks. So he said, I can't sit.
Yeah. No, that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, on 36.
Going quite well, Senator. No, I'm very, very impressed. This is very nice.
I have great issues. My constituents for a public
It's okay to start.
You might want to wait.
Is there a problem with this? So I can tell them.
Well, they said they were taking Oh, here.
Don't jump, we need you.
Yeah.
Should be a seat.
That's what I want to Yes. Oh, I'm gonna put in my land. Oh, if you're one, you got oil and everything else. Have a big excuse me, I've really picked nice critters. That's the one I grew up
they're eating as fast as they can to come in, but you can say stick to listen.
Okay.
So if you want
quiet little.
let the audience know that.
Yep, you can shut that window a little bit too.
Is Representative Timmons in
Okay. Welcome, everyone. Representative Babbitt. The rest of the committee went in to have a little break. They're having a sandwich where they can hear everything we say. They're just across the hall. They've got a mic, everything in there. So we're going to get started. Nick from Poland. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Sperdy. I'm a Republican from Poland, Maine. As responsible Mainers, we go to great lengths to protect our families. Things such as health insurance, life insurance, car, and home. Eating well, exercising, even washing our hands often, but most importantly, owning a firearm. Under Maine's current laws, I have to choose from open carry or a lengthy permitting process to carry concealed. If I choose to open carry, I have to endure the looks and criticisms and unpredictable actions of uninformed or uneducated citizens that this act might make me feel uncomfortable. This open carry act also makes me a target to criminals looking to harm others. If I choose to conceal carry, then I am forced to pay a fee, have my name and information put on countless government lists, and subject to a long, lengthy, and unnecessary bureaucratic wait. This is why I'm here today to share my support for LD652, constitutional carry Maine. Thank you for your consideration of this matter.
Thank you very much. Hillary Lister.
Good evening, Senator Rosen, Representative Fowl, and members of the committee. My name is Hillary Lister, and I live in Athens, Maine, and I'm here to speak in support of both LD652 and LD535, which is an act to amend the laws governing the concealed handguns permit application put in by Representative Dunphy. As has been mentioned by a number of speakers before, Article 1, Section 16 of the Constitution of Maine specifies that every citizen has a right to keep and bear arms, and this right shall never be questioned. In 1917, the Maine Legislature, under suspension of the rules and without debate, passed the state's first concealed carry permit bill at the request of the Portland's police captain. That bill made it illegal for private citizens to carry any concealed weapon unless they answered questions and received a license from the local police or selectmen who deemed the applicants to be of good moral character. In 1987, the Maine Legislature passed a bill ratified by public referendum vote to clarify that the constitutional right to bear arms is a personal right. In spite of the 1987 referendum and the Declaration of Rights in Maine's Constitution specifying that the right to keep and bear arms shall never be questioned, the requirement for a permit to possess a concealed handgun remained on the books and even was expanded. In 1994, the legislature passed an after-deadline emergency bill, LD 1798, an act to clarify the laws relating to permits to carry concealed firearms. LD 1798 added questions about marijuana use to the list that applicants for a permit to bear a concealed handgun must answer to determine their moral character. As a result of the 1994 bill, a person applying for a permit in Maine must answer questions about whether they have passed juvenile offenses or civil violations for small-scale possession of marijuana, And as was mentioned in Representative Dunphy's testimony, the only other drugs that they asked about civil violations or juvenile offenses are for isopropyl and they're nitrates that are used to make an inhalant, basically. Marijuana is singled out with these other two drugs for questions about civil violations and juvenile offenses. If the legislature votes to pass LD652, these problems will be solved, and a person who is otherwise legally allowed to possess a handgun will no longer have their constitutionally defined rights questioned by government officials in order to exercise their right to bear arms, concealed or otherwise. If Maine's legislature fails to pass LD652, then it will be important to also vote in favor of LD535. LD535 removes questions about small-scale possession of marijuana from the application to carry a concealed handgun. A civil violation or a juvenile offense for small-scale possession of marijuana in an applicant's past should not result in a denial of the person's constitutionally protected rights and their ability for self-defense. And thank you for your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Mark from Sorrento.
This thing on? Yeah, I guess it is.
Yes, it is.
Well, citizens and people that have interest in this, and bone-sucking, marrow-drinking individuals that would deprive the most vulnerable and poverty-stricken people in Maine the right to defend themselves. Thank you for this opportunity to hear me out. We've heard a lot of talk about the Constitution, and that's a good thing, and people fought and died for that. And we've heard a lot about what criminals will do, and God knows that this country was founded by a bunch of people that would have hung by the jurisdiction that they fought against. They probably would have been considered criminals too. The fact is, we live in a dangerous world, and it don't seem to be getting any less dangerous. I mean, we've got it to the point where I guess one nuclear country can destroy another nuclear country, but that still doesn't have us acting civil to one another, which we ought to do. We ought to be able to say to act civil. But the thing that I don't want to think about, and you probably wouldn't want to think about it either, is Mama wakes up in the middle of the night, and she's got somebody that's threatening her. She packs up everything that she's got, she packs up her kids, and she gets out of there, because that's what a reasonable person would do. She can go down to the courthouse, and she can say, I'd like a piece of paper, and she says, I have no money. And the judge will say, your former progress, I'll issue you the paper. And she can be very scared, and when the perpetrator shows, if he does, she can wave the paper at him and say, I've got this piece of paper. And if that perpetrator says, I see that piece of paper, I won't come any further, well, that might happen. Or he might disregard that paper altogether. She can say, hold on, while I get my cell phone, I've got to make a call to the Department of Public Safety, and if we live in a rural area, we might wait 20 or 30 minutes, and then you can perpetrate what you were going to do otherwise. That could happen. But rather, she should be able to reach into her pocketbook and make a decision that no person should ever, in this God's planet, ever have to make. Which is, do I take a life, defending my life and the life of my children, defend myself after that, or do I become a victim? Now the problem is, Mother took off without any money, and she can get that court paper, but what she can't do is go to the Department of Public Safety and say, I feel threatened for my life. And I think that I need to have a firearm that I can conceal, because I am scared for my children. And have the state police say, yeah, here's your permit. No, first she's going to have to pay $30. And if she doesn't have any money, that's an imposition on poverty. Then she's going to have to go take a course, which is still a whole bunch of money. And that's not on a sliding scale. That's not on a sliding scale. She has to come up with that money. And then she has to wait, and wait, and wait. And pray to God that that person that initiated that fear isn't going to come to her and make her fears reality. Put away the Constitution. It's a good document. We don't need that to examine that at the moment. Put away your fears of safety. They're real. And bad people are here. And if you want to live in a society actually where there is safety from guns, where no one has any guns, including law enforcement, head yourself down to the Department of Correction. They have such a place that exists where no one has guns. Ask the sheriff if you can spend a night there and see if you feel more safe because you're surrounded by individuals that are unarmed with firearms.
I'm sorry, I have to ask you to wrap up. We're doing 3 minutes, but Thank you for your testimony.
And I thank you for my attempt to be able to persuade you to let this bill pass.
Thank you. Okay. Bill Harwood?
Number 39.
Still out. Isabel? Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Isabel Mullen. I'm here on behalf of Maine Medical Association and Dr. Edward Walworth, who unfortunately cannot be here today. Dr. Walworth's testimony is being passed around, but I just wanted to touch on a few highlights. I won't read everything. Dr. Walworth is a retired physician, and he's also a member of the Maine Medical Association's Public Health Committee and has a long-standing interest in public health and the threat posed by firearms. And for that reason, I'm testifying in opposition to LD652 today on behalf of the Maine Medical Association. Dr. Walworth retired in 2010 and since then has gone on 3 separate trips to Africa with Doctors Without Borders. Every time he's been there, he's done operations on victims of gunshot wounds, and every time he's been there, there's been citizens of African nations asking him why this country, the United States of America, a country with so much wealth, access to food, access to water, and all the essentials, has so many guns and so much gun violence. And he doesn't understand why a country like this needs so much gun violence, or has so much gun violence, and in addition, does not believe that the permitting process to carry a concealed weapon creates an undue hardship on Mainers, and that this is a reasonable step to check the background of individuals carrying concealed weapons. He notes that most physician organizations in our country have issued policy statements recognizing firearm violence as an important threat to public safety and health. The following is just one example from the American Medical Association House of Delegates, and I won't read the whole thing, but it starts off by saying, our American Medical Association recognizes that uncontrolled ownership and use of firearms, especially handguns, is a serious threat to the public's health, inasmuch as the weapons are one of the main causes of intentional and unintentional injuries and death. And then it goes on and cites the specific policies that it supports. But in conclusion, based on the public health principles outlined in the testimony, the Maine Medical Association will support 2 bills near here in the city, LD415 and LD600, and testifies in opposition to LD652. Thank you for considering our testimony, and have a great evening.
Thank you very much. Carol Layton. Carol Layton. Dennis Crowell. Good evening.
Good evening. And let's see, we have new faces from last year.
Yes, we do. We look
Senator Rosen, Representative Powell. I'm here on behalf of Capital City Rifle and Pistol Club, and it's about 1,400 members now. And also on behalf of Skowhegan Sportsman's Club. Going down the list of bills today, very briefly, 415 is unnecessary and redundant in federal law. Let the feds take care of it. Let's see, 535, no opposition. I looked at 548, and as a ex-service member, that would have been very nice when I was in service, so we can support that one. I looked at LD 600, and my big question is why? An act to conform Maine law regarding persons prohibited from possessing firearms with federal law. Why do we have to do that? Let the feds take care of it. Fill up their jails, not ours. LD 652. Nobody's surprised that I support this. Big time. You've heard all of the arguments for. One of the big arguments we've had against is that people will not know if you are carrying a gun. Well, they don't know that now. Whether you have a permit or don't have a permit, If I'm carrying concealed, the operative word is concealed. So the fact that there is ignorant after this law passes as before this law passes is totally irrelevant. Now, one issue is an issue of paper trail, and I'm going to tell you a very short story. I spent a long time in the Orient with the Army. I got very interested in my home base, which was the Philippines. Collected lots of books dealing with the Philippines, and one was a journal of a man that was captured in Manila by the Japanese. He was an American civilian. After the Japanese took over and our forces were all locked up in Bataan, he got a knock on his door, and it was a Japanese officer come to confiscate his firearms. And you asked the question, how did he know he had these firearms? Because they had firearms registration in the permitting process. The bad guys knew where the guns were just as well as the good guys did. And that's another reason why we're opposed.
Thank you very much.
Neither for nor against 823. And very much in favor of 868. I carry 3 concealed handgun permits, and for me to get any more state access, it would be a one-at-a-time basis because of which states recognize who.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Valerie Colon.
Thank you very much.
Valerie. Michael Coleman.
Good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening.
Senator Rosen, Representative Fowler, members of the committee. I'm Mike Coleman from Old Orchard Beach, and I am here on behalf of myself. I was trying to think of something that I can do to make this a little bit humorous. All right, let's change the name of LD652 to the Hopelophobe Feeling Protection Act. People are carrying as it is. They're carrying open, legally, without a permit. And some people that scares. So let's just conform Maine law and respect their feelings and let people carry concealed without a permit. The bad guys don't care. They're going to carry. Felons carry concealed. They cannot get a permit. They can't legally own a firearm. And I'm sure you've heard this earlier today. Consider the experience of the state of Vermont. Vermont's very similar to Maine. A rural state, not very sparsely populated. Vermont has never required a concealed weapons permit, and it's the safest state in the union. That tells me something. It ought to tell you folks and your colleagues in the House and the Senate. Bad guys are going to carry no matter what. They're bad guys. Gun control invariably affects the people the most who are not the problem, and does not affect the people who are the problem. Us folks, the folks you hear today, we respect the law. Okay? I don't agree with the law that says I have to have a permit to carry a firearm, but I'm not going to carry in violation. I don't have the resources to be the test case. The permit process criminalizes a behavior based upon how you carry it. I can carry a hammer, I can carry a screwdriver inside my jacket, and it's not illegal. These are tools that can be used in instruction, they can be used defensively, or they can be used offensively. So when you think about that, why are we doing that for this inanimate object? And it's the intent of the carrier more than anything. And when seconds count, a police officer is minutes away. If we want to prevent crime, our police are powerless to do it because they cannot be everywhere at all times. I can't afford, nor can I carry a police officer with me at all times. And they're very difficult to conceal. So please, I'd love to see, I know I won't, see unanimous ought to pass report on this bill. But it will take a majority. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Anthony Connolly?
Good evening, Senator Rosen, Representative Fowle, to members of the committee. My name is Anthony Connolly. I'm from Portland, Maine. I'm also representing my brother officer, Jonathan Rogers, from Wells, Maine. We both have bachelor's degrees in criminal justice from Husson University. My brother is also a Marine Corps infantry veteran, served one tour in Iraq, and is also a sworn police officer for the town of York. Now, I know you're all familiar with the content of LD652, so I won't go over everything, but I think it's important to stress again that it doesn't change where you can carry, it doesn't change who can carry. You still can't carry in government buildings like this one, you still can't carry on school grounds, and you can't carry anywhere posted on an establishment that serves liquor. It will also still be illegal to display weapons in a threatening manner. You can't brandish, you can't flash them. As people have said before, they argue that constitutional carry would make Maine into the Wild West, that it would make Maine, Mainers become gung-ho, that there would be more murder. And everyone's used the example of Vermont, as I've heard, but I've actually got numbers from the FBI Universal Crime Report. Now, in 2013, Vermont had 5 murders by firearms. Maine had 12. If you take those numbers per 1,000, Vermont had 0.0079 murders per 1,000. Maine had 0.009 murders per 1,000. So what do those numbers mean? It means they're infinitesimally low. They don't have a lot of murder. It means that despite Vermont being a constitutionally carried state, that they aren't the Wild West, and it hasn't made everyone become bloodthirsty. There hasn't been a spree of murders. So, if that hasn't changed in the entire 200 years that Vermont has been a state in our union, why would it change now? And just the same, if Maine became a constitutional carry state, why would that change such as hunting and firearm culture? And lastly, I just want to say my girlfriend's from Las Vegas. She currently attends Bowdoin College. Her 4 friends just came from Vegas to visit Maine, and they had a hard time adjusting to the snow because they're in the desert, but they managed. What they took away, though, from their short stay was that they got the sense that Mainers just seem to care about each other. We care about our communities, and we care about our families more than everybody else does. And I believe them. And I've also come to the same conclusion in my travels around the United States. If we truly do care about our community, about each other, wouldn't we want to make it easier to not only practice our constitutionally guaranteed right to bear arms, but also our most basic and fundamental human right, the right to self-preservation, preservation of the family, and preservation of the community, to protect our mothers, our fathers, our sons and our daughters, our brothers and sisters, our husbands and our wives. I urge you to vote in favor of LD 652's passing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Tom Franklin. No, Tom. I can't read this from Machias. Caitlin.
Number 47.
Oh, she's right outside.
Thank you.
I heard her say she had 47.
There we go. If you would let her know we're up to her.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm calling you now.
Welcome. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Kaylin Burke. I'm from Machias. I'm a 19-year-old voter, and I've recently become very aware of the deterioration of our constitutional rights. As a young, independent American woman, I am very interested in this topic, in being able to defend myself and my family members and my rights in regards to them. I absolutely believe, of course, that it is an endowed right to the Americans to bear arms, but I also believe that it is our right to conceal them if we so desire. The ability and to be able to capably defend yourself against aggressors, both foreign and domestic,
is a most symbolic strength of the American people, and I feel very strongly about that. I also feel that having concealed carry restrictions on firearms will mean nothing to criminals. I mean, as far as I've seen, it absolutely doesn't mean anything to them because they still go ahead and break the law anyway. I know a lot of you are, or some of you are opposed to that, but from the research that I've done and debates that I've had with other people, it doesn't seem like it could make an impact to any criminal, whether they should have a permit to conceal the weapon or not. But it really does make an impact to me. As a law-abiding citizen, it makes an impact to me and my family. It makes it harder on me. It makes me have to go through more red tape to protect myself. And I don't feel that that should be, the way it is. I feel that I have a right to put a gun in my purse if I so desire to protect myself without having to potentially be considered a criminal just because I don't have a permit for it. As an American, I feel that this generation has lost a lot of pride, a lot of sense of pride in our country. And we've lost a sense of liberty and the sense of our endowed rights. I feel that this generation believes the lies that are being told to us that we are incapable of making our own decisions. And I also believe that we are taught to believe the lies that we need professionals to regulate and restrict us. I see you making some faces over there. I agree with Patrick Henry when he said, "Where and when did freedom exist? When the power of the sword and of the purse were given up from the people." And I also agree with Thomas Paine when he said that government is but a necessary evil. I absolutely believe that, and I should hope that any of my representatives would have the same viewpoint on that it is but a necessary evil. And I do not want that evil being involved in my personal decisions on whether I have a gun. I don't want them to know whether I have a gun. And I certainly would want to feel that I am protected from that. And I am here in absolute favor of the bill LD652.